Oh yeah.
And we're live. And I'm here with the 6'3" Oregon ogre, Hagbard Celine. How you doing?
How are you today?
Yeah, I can't complain. Can't complain at all. I'm just, as I said in that video, I don't know if you got through it all. I just want to hit the fucking eject button on humanity. When I see, I mean, forget just the egregious social justice pandering for a second, but just the fact that you would have to take a day off because you saw a memo agree with and you feared for your safety. I cannot understand. I cannot even contemplate how emotionally broken you must be.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was simultaneously depressed while spinning circles in my fucking computer chair laughing when I read that. Because, man, the jobs I've had, the shit I've been through with superiors, coworkers, I worked with fucking gang members. I've been called a crackhead for a year because everyone else I worked with was a drug addict. I was just poor. You know, I was just doing the fucking job. These are the kind of things that normal people put up with. And you guys left it's obvious to you guys work for fucking Google. You guys aren't hurting. You guys have a good job, and you had to take the day off because of a memo that was completely dispassionately written. It's not even like he's like all these fucking cunts getting in here. It's not. That wasn't the memo he sent out. It didn't sound like the ravings of a delusional serial killer. It sounded like a guy. Yeah, yeah. He just. I mean, he even had some ideas that I'd never considered about how it would be good to use the female staff for integration.
Yeah.
And don't do that well. It's just not our thing. We're not, again, like I joked with my brother when I first heard about that, that makes sense. Male programmers I grew up with thinks Unix is going to take off anytime soon. It's never going to take off. They think that works, but for most people, it's never going to work.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's I just find this what I want to, I mean, I would kind of want to use you as a sounding board in some way, because I feel like the last time we talked about Evergreen State University and how this felt like something different. And I still think it is. I mean, it is sort of the implosion of social justice taken to its logical conclusion. And here now we have, I know people, I tried to anticipate some of the arguments people would have against what I said, which is that, well, you know, they've been doing this on YouTube for ages. They've basically said that feelings of people who are upset are more important than your ability to monetize your video or have it on YouTube. So, but this is a statement from the CEO that basically says, look, it's unacceptable to point out facts about biology because people's feelings will be hurt and it will hurt the corporate culture. And that's a statement which, did you hear that fucking buzzer? Jesus Christ.
Yes, I did. And I'll make sure that doesn't happen again.
No, that was me.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, this is a public statement that basically says, look, we prioritize the feelings over facts, and we are pushing ahead with this ideology regardless of whether it's actually useful, helpful, will achieve what it says it achieves. And I don't know if it's this, I feel like there's a disconnect from like the very top management and sort of this whatever you want to call them, trust and safety council people that are in charge of all the diversity movements. Whereas the top just go, yeah, look after the diversity shit, hire a few more women, and we'll virtue signal. But that the diversity people have kind of taken over the culture, and they've unleashed a beast.
Yeah. Well, and I think what's funny is even in the case of Google, they're not even a particularly gender balanced company as it stands.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, some graphs came out and they're like 26% female, and there are other companies like Amazon that are 40% or some shit.
Yeah,
they're not even. They are literally doing this for the ideological reasons and because they need a way to divert away from people going, well, what about this?
Yeah, but how about? I mean, let's just consider this for a minute. I mean, Google's what, a 20-year-old company now. They have.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much they have dominated search for 10, 12 years now. Yahoo had bowed out a decade ago, really. They don't compete. And my point is, this started off sort of a two guys in a garage type situation. Where was the diversity? This company grew to monopolize the internet. without diversity.
Yeah.
And now we need diversity. Diversity is going
to... they've grown bloated, for sure. Luckily, that's their downfall. Although I will say, this might be one of the few times where my rule of thumb when it comes to companies, any sort of even non-for-profits and things like that, after they're created, the only thing that motivates them, the actual bottom line of their company, starts being to keep that company alive.
Yeah.
That becomes the bottom line, because without that, there's no point in continuing on. Obviously, it just logically follows.
Yeah, I mean,
one of the few times that a company is, this proves to me almost that this ideology is a parasitic one, because it's the first time a company would work against its own ends.
Yeah.
It's the only ideology I've ever seen make a company not even just signal it, but legitimately work against their own ends. And I find that stunning.
Yeah. I mean, but just the idea that this company became unbelievably successful by their own admission without diversity. They did it primarily as a white male company that drove it to unbelievable success. But now, now at the core of our culture, diversity is our strength. Well, it never was. So how, it just doesn't make any sense. It's the same argument that, well, it's not the same argument, but the separate argument is that we need more women in the company because diversity is good. Diversity makes the place better because women bring some attributes that aren't already present in a male culture. And then a guy turns around and points out the fact that men and women are different, and they say, you're fired. And that's the whole basis for bringing in women.
Well, more and more as time goes on, they reveal themselves to be utter hypocrites. So we also have that on our side, as more and more people are eventually have to see and go, like, really, what are you even talking about when you mean this? And then luckily I think we're getting close to that, and from what the polls say, the youngest generation especially isn't buying this shit. So that's good, I guess.
I think that
but I do.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, the last generation usually rebels against the shit that the idiots before them that did. And, I mean, Generation X, which I'm a part of, didn't really have much to rebel against. All we did was listen to heavy metal and shit and draw pentagrams on our pencil cases at school. And then we turned... rebellion. Yeah, and then we turned into... Kurt Cobain worshippers in the early 90s. But these people are really fucking destructive. I mean, they're creating a society that is so fragile psychologically, pathetic. I mean, taking days off because you read a fucking memo. I mean, I tweeted out, you should be sacked immediately for that, the people who took the day off. Yeah.
It's funny because what I said was the women that didn't come to work deserve to be fired more than the man who was fired over this. Honestly, they deserve to be fired more. If I'd called in my boss and been like, look, one of my coworkers and I had a disagreement. I cannot come in tomorrow. I'd have been fired. That's it. You're done. You're the problem here. You're the one who just said I can't work with that guy. So you are the problem here.
I could just imagine, like, I got in trouble once. So I used to work in stockbroking, and, it was sort of work hard, play hard. We went out, got shit-faced, and and you start really early in the morning, broker. You'd get in before 8 o'clock in the morning. I didn't make it in, and I called in, said I wasn't going to make it in until a little later. And I was sick as hell. And the boss got up me big time because I eventually struggled in about 11 o'clock in the morning. And it wasn't that I had anything urgent on, but I got in a lot of trouble for that. There were guys that got shit-faced, slept under their desks.
Yep.
And because they were there in the morning, they got credit. And the idea that you could ring up and say, I read something that was offensive yesterday at work, so I'm not coming in. I mean, I think you would actually have been fired for that. I mean, the boss would have called you in and said, look, I don't know what you're thinking, but if you pull that again, you're gone. That's what would happen.
Yeah, well, it's kind of interesting how often it's a proving the point issue, where, like, there was recently the case, I think it was in the UK, where a woman won $3.6 million or $360,000 or some absurd amount of money for a comment that was made in 2004, 2005. And the comment was, women tend to hang on to things for longer than a man would. That is the comment that she won the money for 15 years later.
Yeah.
I would have just looked at him, Your Honor, my defense. I think I've been just proven to speak the truth at this point. Why am I here? I don't understand. And it's similar with this, where he's like, these people maybe are causing this place to become a fragile system, and then the next day they're like, I just can't come in. I just can't. Well, you've proven his point. That's all you've done. You've made it his point for him. And some people are bound to see that.
One of his points that really triggered them was the claim that women were higher in neuroticism. And this is, again, it's
so let's not come in.
It's well grounded in the Big Five personality trait findings that across cultures, across age groups, pretty well founded. And yet it's one of these things that's sort of an unutterable truth because you're a bigot. Because, I mean, we have, to some extent, gotten rid of all these stereotypes about women being, for example, too emotional, can't handle the pressure, all this kind of stuff. But they are, as you're saying, their exact behavior proves the point that all this progress that, say, second wave feminism was about saying women are strong and powerful and they can do whatever they want. And third wave feminism seems to be taking all that back and saying, no, women are victims. They're pathetic. They're weak. They can't handle comments. They've undone all the good work. Or perhaps the reality is perhaps all those stereotypes were true to some extent and we should never have gotten rid of them.
Well, the thing is that no matter how hard you try, if they do still ring true, you never will. Which is what we're running into over and over and over and over again with them. Is you can keep saying, oh, that's just a stereotype, but 5% confirmation, and then it's not a stereotype, it's an average. It's an observation of reality, and somehow that's a problem.
And people like Paul Bloom, who wrote a book called Against Empathy recently, is an American psychologist, and he argues in that actually stereotypes are very useful and they're actually quite accurate. And if we didn't use them, we wouldn't be able to negotiate the world in the way that we do.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's like in the reverse of that. One of my favorite articles that just came out was interpreting data to say that people with a high IQ are more likely to be racist or sexist. One of the funniest things I've ever read in my life. And they literally say, people with a high IQ, you establish you have an high IQ essentially by saying this person is very good at pattern finding.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I noticed a pattern. Well, that pattern is uncomfortable, and you're not supposed to talk about that pattern. Well, I can't not notice that pattern. I'm not stupid. I'm not able to just ignore that pattern because I see it all the time, constantly. I can't ignore it.
Exactly.
Well, you're a problem.
Do you listen to Sam Harris's podcast?
Ironically, I don't. Most people would think I do, but I don't. I don't. He honestly, he would put me back to sleep, and it's just because he's such a calm guy. I listen to high energy people because I could already go back. I'm good. I'll fall back to sleep.
Yeah. He has some great guests on. He just put out a podcast 2 days ago. A guy who's sort of an expert on violence. He does security for celebrities, and he's been doing it his whole life. And he made this point that he about relying on your intuition. And if you're a young lady late at night getting into an elevator at 10, 11 at night, and you have an intuition as you're about to get in an elevator with a guy into a small metal box, and he's a person of a certain ethnic origin, and you know the odds of this at night and the way he looks, then you should trust that intuition and not get into that steel box where there are no windows, Yeah.
Well, and it's always been a thing where I've joked with people, the only time I've ever gotten myself into trouble is when I said, nah, there's no way. Come on, you're fine. You've done this before, or you're good, or there's no way that one. No, if you're thinking that, when you have to tell yourself there's no way.
Yeah.
Not for a reason.
This guy had examples of like women particularly who, because they're particularly susceptible to this kind of crime, would, you know, they would say things like, they would have that intuition, and then they would say to themselves, they would get in the elevator anyway because they want to prove to themselves that they're not racist, you know, or something, or sexist, and it's just utterly absurd. You should trust that intuition. And if some guy in the elevator gets pissed off because you wrongfully think he's a dickhead, it doesn't matter, because you can tell yourself, and I'm a big proponent of pulling out statistics, but when you're faced with a guy in an alley with a knife, telling yourself that being stabbed is a rare occurrence doesn't help you. It just doesn't.
No. My analogy for that is people that ride bikes.
Right.
And believe that laws matter. Because if I kill you, it's all well and good that you had the right of way. It is. It's great. It's going to get me a whole lot more time on my sentence. You're still dead.
Yep.
And you being in the right in this particular instance doesn't actually do you any good. So sometimes it's better to be alive than right.
Yep. That's why you look right and you look left and you look right again before you cross on the busy street. I think that's how it used to go.
Something like that. I think it's the opposite here because the way they drive on the road.
Probably is. It's what is it over there? It's 10:30. See, it's Wednesday. It's weird, and it's Wednesday afternoon over here, 3:30 in the afternoon. Beautiful day.
Yeah, it's 10:35 here on Tuesday.
On West Coast.
I've always been. Yeah. You're West Coast too.
No, I'm East Coast of Australia. Yeah, East Coast.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah, so I think I don't know, the people in the comments need a rundown of what happened, but I was more interested in, and this is completely speculative now, but what do you think is the fallout here? What happens? Do we just talk about it for a month and it goes away? I mean, it's the same with the Evergreen situation. Like, I didn't think Evergreen was going to lead to some moment where we all rebelled against social justice and it died. But I did think that it was a turning point in terms of seeing or exposing the ridiculousness of this to the public. And of course, Evergreen went and doubled down as they thought they would. Google will double down. I'm sure they'll pull out all the defenses. At least I think they will. Do you see any repercussions, or do you think we're just going to whinge about it for a month and it'll go away?
Well, have you heard he's filing a lawsuit?
Yeah, I'm not. I didn't know that. I did see some people saying, "Look, he's got a really good case here." I was reading a lawyer, some lady, but he's already filed.
It does appear that he was smart enough to retain a lawyer before he even went through this, and they were ready with paperwork because it was filed. It was filed like 2 days later. So this was essentially bait to see if they would illegally fire him for doing something well within legal rights.
Yeah, well, I hope it's not entrapment.
No, there's nothing there. That only applies to the state. Entrapment's a state law. You can't you can't make someone commit a crime. Yeah, you can't make someone commit a crime in the name of the state to charge them with that crime. That's illegal. That's entrapment. But you can for sure intentionally break the rules for the company and then sue that company. I've seen that happen hundreds of times.
Geez, I hope this goes. I mean, are you aware of the there's that other lawsuit out there by some YouTubers that are now suing YouTube? Because I mean, these guys, I mean, I got fucked by YouTube, but you know, to the tune of about being down 55% from pre-adpocalypse. But there are channels out there, and you know the type I mean, they do this sort of fake horror stuff with blood, and you know, it's all a joke. And the comic people that piss on each other and all that kind of stuff. Fake piss, it's all fake. But they've had their revenue cut 99% and it hasn't come back. I mean, it's just not coming back. And they've launched a lawsuit against YouTube because they want to compel YouTube to reveal their algorithm and how they're sort of whatever they're doing, whatever filters they're putting on videos. So they've got that as well. Yeah,
they're suing for transparency at this point.
Yeah. And so,
I mean, because if you get it into court, if you get it far enough in court, they're going to have to use those documents as a defense, in which case they become public record.
Yeah. I mean, and as you said, maybe you said this before we went online. I mean, this is all self-created. None of this had to happen. None of these. I mean, you wouldn't have Gab AI, Minds, VidMe. None of these things would exist if YouTube had gone down this path. Now, none of those platforms are particularly viable yet, but you wouldn't have this movement if YouTube had, back at the Adpocalypse, if YouTube had said, look, we do our best to remove the worst kind of content, but we're actually a free speech platform. Ads that run before videos do not endorse those videos, and they actually stood up for freedom of speech. They wouldn't be in this mess, would they?
No, and I would like to see them die essentially on the burial mound they're digging here. Because, okay, one of Google's biggest, or one of specifically YouTube's biggest strengths is the corporate embeds. They are all over. If you go to a major news website, they tend to link back to YouTube for their videos, which is one of the major problems they're having, is that they're getting more and more corporatized. I'd love to watch them just die on that hill, and all of the independent creators go somewhere else, and we just leave YouTube for music videos, cat videos, and newscast embeds.
Yeah.
On that hill. That's the hill they want to die on. Let them do it. Just walk away. That's the best case scenario. I mean, it's not like I had anything to lose AdSense wise, so they didn't hurt me. But that's just me. It was like, I can laugh in their face, because what are you gonna do? Change my $5 to $2 a month? Please, come on. It's just not there for me. So you're not gonna break my heart. But there are people out there that I know, like even people I don't particularly watch or care for anymore, like The Amazing Atheist.
Yeah.
He has people. Like Dave Rubin, he has people that he's paying. It's not just some asshole sitting in his living room. It's people.
Right. Yeah. I'm in a double-edged sword. I mean, I'm trying to diversify away from YouTube, but it's still my major source of income, probably, I don't know, 60% or something, or 2/3 even. And I'd love to go, yeah, fuck you, I'm out. I don't know what the answer is. I think I'm going to have to do a Devon Tracy and build my own website, or just get one made and post videos there and post. I'll keep posting them on YouTube until the thing just fucking dies, or until I get kicked off or demonetized. I'm going to keep doing it, but I just need another platform. I need to be crowdfunded, I think.
Yeah, that's the thing, is getting a different form of revenue is the best case scenario. Another route that I know a couple guys that went is private advertising.
Yeah.
Audible's always looking if you need someone to make up revenue. I've heard Audible basically will do a bit for anyone, and it's all based on what you have viewership wise. So
yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that stuff.
Yeah, just circumvent YouTube as much as humanly possible is my recommendation. We're not going to beat them. There's no way that a bunch of content creators, even as big as, guys like Sargon, they're not going to be able to, even if he stopped creating. That doesn't matter.
No, of course. I actually did the calculations with respect to PewDiePie. PewDiePie gets 9 million views a day, right? 9 million views a day. I've been going a year and 3 months, and I haven't got 9 million views yet. I mean,
yeah.
He's getting 9 million views a day, and I worked out that he's less than 0.5% of all views on YouTube. I mean, he's nothing. They could lose PewDiePie tomorrow, and it wouldn't matter.
Yeah,
it wouldn't matter.
Their real money is the corporate stuff. So, I mean, that's going to be the end result of this. Is YouTube went from the creators platform, where I saw it happening 2 or 3 years ago, really, where you started seeing people that would be on TV shows or on the radio, and I'm like, who the fuck is this person? And it's a YouTube celebrity. It's like, oh, this is the end. This is the tail end of YouTube, because as soon as the corporations get their claws in it and start raking people off the top, breeding ground for corporates, that's all this is now. They're looking for corporate people to trickle to the top, and then they'll snatch them off and fucking put them in a normal job.
Yeah, I encourage people to go and have a look at the YouTube creators Twitter feed. Go and have a look at that, and you will see exactly what they want YouTube to be. It's like, it's some kid blending up a Mars bar and some M&Ms in a fucking blender and giving it to his mom and doing a reaction video. That's it. That's what they want. That is what they want YouTube to be.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. They don't want people. I mean, and I've joked with people because there is of course the other edge of the other side of the coin where there's a bunch of people out there who would be saying things that maybe YouTube wouldn't approve of, but that wouldn't hit the demographics that would be considered protected. That they're not going to demonetize. I know that because I watch them for fun. That these guys aren't getting demonetized. These guys also aren't particularly concerned. Started this whole thing off by selling their own trinkets and fucking gold-laced water and shit. So they're not concerned about this. They sell a bottle of water with half a gram of gold in it for $150.
Right.
We're worried about YouTube. So I mean, that's the thing, is that all these other people that are even in the crosshairs are making their money elsewhere.
Yeah.
And YouTube is trying to cull anyone they can that says anything offensive, and that was the inevitable end result of corporatizing. I mean,
but don't you think there's a this is just speculation though. As I said before, there are people at the top who've said, okay, we need some filter to filter out offensive content. But what they have unwittingly let in is this social justice fucking termite squad who are going ballistic and probably without the proper supervision. That it's a culture within a culture, in a sense, and that at the top.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It inevitably leads back to the colleges. The reason why these people are the ones that are put into the positions to do the monitoring and to do the decision-making about what's considered offensive material is they have if I'm looking for someone to make sure that my stuff isn't offensive for minorities, I'm going to get someone that studied gender theory and studied African studies. That's what you're going to get to make sure these things work. So it really does kind of go all the way back to the colleges again, where when they're allowed to teach people in this manner and then those people are listed as the experts on the situation, it's a downfall.
I just can't believe that they hire people. That there's actually positions in companies called Vice President of Diversity.
Diversity,
integrity, and governance. That's what that VP at Google, the woman who's, I don't know if you saw that statement, it was just utter gibberish. It basically said, we reaffirm our commitment to diversity because diversity is good and we're committed to it and therefore it's good, enough said. That was it. Just garbled nonsense.
Yeah, these people are the purveyors of newspeak. These people are the ministry. That's what they even view themselves as without realizing it. Yeah. The ministry didn't think it was evil. A lot of people don't seem to understand, and it's clarified in some of the final scenes of that book in the conversation with Mr. Smith or whatever, the guy, the interrogator. The interrogator thinks he's doing the right thing. He's keeping a whole society moving forward.
Yeah,
moving forward. Moving into the future, into a bright future, into the best future that humanity could possibly ask for. These people think the same thing, so of course they're going to be just as fucking insane.
Yeah. And and as we were saying before we went on air, I mean, this diversity inclusion is just a metamorphosis of the original human resources department, which always, as we said, was a bit of a joke. The people, oh, you work in human resources, do you? You know, fucking human resources? I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even so late as the American version of The Office, the human resources guy is a joke. Yeah. Human resources, my entire life has been a joke, and now all of a sudden they're this bludgeon being used to ruin people's careers.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very sad. I give you, I work for a French bank back in the late 90s, 2000s. It was called Banque Nationale de Paris, and then it merged with Paribas. So it became BNP Paribas. And they came in. Every time something happened, they come in and they've got a new strategy. And the human resources people came in and they said, they put up the pyramid, you know, like the CEO on the top and then the managers and then right down to the bottom. And at the bottom were the sort of the retail bank people, the tellers and whatnot, the customer service people on the phones. And they said, what we're going to do is because we've realized that the people on the front lines are the most important people in the company. And so they flipped the pyramid, right? So all the customer service people are on the top. So it's an inverted pyramid now. And I put up my hand and I said, so does that mean they're all going to get paid the same as the CEO, and the CEO is going to get paid what the customer service representative used to get paid? And they all looked at me, and and there was sort of giggles in the room, and so, but it was just such bullshit. Everyone knew what you were trying to do. You're trying to play a confidence trick. You're trying to tell the people on the front lines who quit the most, there's the most turnover because it's a shitty job and they hardly get paid anything. You're trying to tell them that they're important. I mean, we all could see through it.
Yeah.
It's just such fucking.
Yeah, they want to pat you on the head so they don't have to give you a raise or any power. It's like, oh yeah, you guys are very important and super special to us. Now enjoy collecting minimum wage and not having any power.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm really important, am I? I just had a look at my bank account. I've got sweet fuck all in there. Jesus.
Yeah. You say that now we've reversed the structure. Can I give the CEO some hints on how he can run the company better from the ground up? You know what I'm saying? No? You don't want to hear from me still? All right, that's what I thought.
Yeah, just stunning. I mean, so I'm talking 17 years ago, maybe. And so I've been removed. People in the chat don't know, but I haven't worked for a company in the Western world for 16 years. So this diversity inclusion horseshit, I've never had to sit through it. I've never been to a workshop on unconscious bias or any of this crap. And quite frankly, that's why I can't go back to a job, because the moment I walk into a company and they say, okay, yes, we really like your application and we think you're a good candidate, and what do you think about diversity inclusion? And I'll say, well, it's a bunch of fucking bullshit and it's the biggest scam of the 21st century. And if I have to buy into it, shove your job up your ass. That's what I would say. I have no patience.
Oh, yeah.
For shit. None.
Yeah, I recall when they actually, and I don't know if it's the same in Australia, but in America, this is standard practice twice a year, every year for 12 years. For 2 months out of every year, you're going to study the history of the persecution of the African-American race in America. For 1 month, you're going to focus on that, pretty solidly focus on that in at least 3 subjects at any given time. Obviously, they can't quite twist math to be about that, but if they could, I swear they'd try. But you do that, and then of course now we by the time I was entering high school, there was a month devoted to the accomplishments of women in America.
Oh, God.
So by the time you hit corporate life here, and you've gone through it in college, and you've gone through it in elementary school, and middle school, and high school, you have 2 options. You've either swallowed the dick, or you are like, I don't even hear the words anymore. I legitimately, you just talk. You sit up there and you're a fucking teacher from Charlie Brown. I don't even understand what you're saying. Just wah, 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 wah. I think more and more people are turning out in that latter, where it's like, yeah, I just can't hear you anymore. You're driving me nuts.
It's amazing to me. I mean, a huge part of this whole caboodle is that the evidence for this is so weak. It's so poor. I mean, to take an IAT test, and if people out there haven't taken an IAT test, go and do it. It's really quick, an implicit association test. And, one of the fundamental sort of precepts of good science is that something is replicable. And you can take an unconscious bias test today and find that you have a slight bias against black people. You can take the same test tomorrow and find the complete opposite result. I mean, this is how bad this test is. It's completely unreliable. But I don't really give a shit about your unconscious biases anyway. I mean, the real test is whether your bias manifests itself in actual behavior. And the evidence for this is just non-existent. There's a couple of papers that show it. And funnily enough, those papers are written by the exact activist type academics you'll see, but the vast majority of it, there's meta studies just show that it's complete bullshit. There's no link, and even more frustrating, I mean, there's a meta study out this beginning of this year that showed that the unconscious bias training doesn't work. And if anything, it actually makes people worse, because you come in and you say, guess what? You're all fucking racists.
Yeah.
And, you know, everybody thinks that they're not. Everybody thinks, well, you know, I'm willing to give anybody a go based on merit. And they come in and go, no, you're all racist, and we're going to train you out of your racism. So people harden their positions.
Yeah. Yeah. What's funny is I actually did a study on a woman called Robin DiAngelo. She is an anti-racist activist from like the 1960s in America. She's a lunatic. Look into her. I'm not even playing. She's insane. The shit she does nothing but breed more contempt on both sides. It does not help anybody. And this has been proven by scientific studies, which is how I have the second bit of information. So far, of all the study, or of all the experiments ever run that showed to have long-term lasting results influencing the concepts of prejudice, one was in Norway. They successfully took away the stigma from the native Norwegian population, because apparently, and I didn't even know this, there's something akin to an Inuit population in Norway. I didn't even know that. I don't know if many people do, but apparently they were viewed similarly to other native populations as loser drunks, yada yada yada, and they did pretty well accomplished simply by exposure, simply by the fact that, you know, they took them to places where these were simply not true, and it was just simple exposure therapy, and that seemed to have a fairly lasting result to not have an immediate judgment of the other. One that was an Australian study with Aborigines, minimize negative interactions between the two populations. A similar exposure. But the way that these people go at it, where they try and insert shame or emotional impact, or that's not healthy. That's not psychologically healthy. And it's been proven as such to not be particularly psychologically healthy.
No, how could it be? I mean, it's the whole sort of cart of identity politics. It's all divisive by nature. I mean, it accuses people of essentially thought crimes, or, you know, microaggressions through innocent, you know, figures of speech, and they're supposed to react positively to this. I mean, it's absurd. How could you? And I think that belies that a lot of this it's just
You there?
It's an identity struggle instead of a class struggle. They gave up on the class struggle. It's an identity struggle.
Yeah, I follow all kinds of people on social media, including some pretty ardent communists. And one of my favorite quotes I heard one of them say was, hey, do you think maybe it was a bad idea to emphasize people's race instead of their class for the last 30 years? Do you think maybe you made a mistake there, or is it just me? And like, yeah, maybe teaching, you know, an entire 2 generations of white kids that this is all their fault doesn't end well.
You still there, man? I just had a blank out.
Me too. I was actually sitting here going, hello?
Yeah, I think it's on my end.
It appears to be happening pretty abruptly, so yeah. If the audience can hear me, then it's hard to say.
Okay. And there we go again.
All right, are we back?
I think we're back. Can you hear me?
Maybe. I can hear you now, yeah. Although it appears after just about every sentence it abruptly clips off halfway through.
Yeah, it keeps just sort of stopping. Yeah, somebody said NBN at work. It's funny because I got the fiber optic cable today.
Oh, did you?
Which, yeah, but so you know what they did? They were supposed to put fiber optic cables into people's homes, and then they cut the program so that the fiber optic cable goes to a node out on the street, and then they run the copper wire into your fucking house. They use the old copper wire to run into your house. So
wow.
it's fucking stupid. And so even after we've spent all this money in Australia on upgrading our network, we've got something like 37th best internet speed in the world. You know, we're behind second world nations.
Does Singapore have a tighter connection or what?
Oh yeah, Singapore's good. They did it properly. It's not that we don't have the cables. I mean, there was a company back in 2007, Australia got Tyco, American company, to run another undersea cable into Australia with the good fiber optic cable. We've got the good connection coming in. It's just what we've done to wire the country up. We just completely fucked it. I mean, I lived in Japan, man. I had unbelievable. Just download a 700 megabyte movie in 3 minutes. Just fantastic shit. Brilliant.
So West Coast of America connections.
Is that what you got?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm lucky. I'm on Wi-Fi right now and still doing okay while there are other people streaming video in the house. So I'm a lucky bug on that one.
Yeah, that's exactly what I had in Japan. But if there was someone else in the house right now streaming, we wouldn't even be able to do this. And I'm on the NBN. That's how fucking retarded it is. I can't watch. I'll turn on the TV and try and watch Netflix while I'm uploading a YouTube video. Can't do it. Cannot.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
It's I don't know.
So all of Australia is wired like an RV park in America, huh?
Well, if you're in a relatively new neighborhood, you can get fiber straight to the house, so you'll be okay. But I'm living in an apartment block, which is not it's not old, but it's not new, so it's fiber to the node. So it's kind of a raffle, depending on where you live, whether you're going to get fiber to the node or fiber straight in the house. And if you get fiber straight in the house, even some people though say that the fiber straight in the house isn't that good. They've got sort of speed limits on your connection, which again, man, like this is one of the reasons. I mean, I knew this before I moved back to Australia, but it's one of the things about Japan. Like, there's no speed limit on your connection. There's no download limit. It's unlimited, free, $50 a month. Just unbelievable.
Awesome. Is it true the roads are better too?
Japan.
Yeah.
Well, they're well made. Of course, the quality is fantastic. But the thing with Japan is they're just the worst planners ever.
Okay.
They're just shithouse in terms of planning. And there's a big blog on this, but somebody described it to me quite well. I think actually I read it in a book. Japanese, as you know, if you know anything about Japanese culture, are fantastic at miniature designs. Think bonsai trees. Think they live in these such small houses. They make maximum use of space possible. They're extremely good at thinking on small scales. But when you think on large scales, you just got to go and have a look at their cities. They are fucking awful. Fucking awful. The roads are good, but the traffic is horrendous. And I think it's the kind of traffic in Tokyo that people talk about in LA. It's that kind of traffic.
Yeah, I would imagine it would be.
And it's even more, I think Tokyo metropolitan area has something like 30 million people in that area. I mean, Shinjuku Station is the most busy train station in the world. I think 2.5 million people go through that station every day.
Isn't that the one where they push people into the train carts?
Oh, that happens everywhere. That happened.
Jesus Christ.
My first day at work. So this guy takes me to the house and this is where you live. And he walked me to the station. You got to walk to the station. This is the train you got to get in the morning. Okay, done. I show up the next day on the platform and there's fucking thousands of people. And I thought, you would react the same way. You you turn around and think you're going to fight someone. You think someone's pushing you, but it's just like a swarm of people carrying you onto the train. And they're just taking these little baby steps, and the swarm just pushes you in. And if need be, there's guards there with fucking poles to push everybody in and squash you in. It's just, it's insane, man. It's absolutely
that sounds
insane.
fun.
I was laughing. I was actually laughing like a crazy person. I couldn't believe people do this. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see why they have groping problems on Japanese subways.
Yeah, and they do have female-only carriages in Japan.
Look, okay, I'm usually not about that, but when you literally are dick to ass, I can kind of understand how that happens. When you're literally jammed in with a pole, I can understand how the women are like, please, can we just get a break? Like, seriously.
Well, and imagine if you're, especially if you're a young guy, and you are actually pressed up against a
and some shit happens.
Woman. I mean, you there's not much you can do about it.
No, I mean, you're a 17, 18-year-old man, and some 20-year-old's ass is pressed against your crotch. Shit's gonna happen, and it's not my fault.
Yeah,
the train's rocking. There's some friction. She smells good. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, I better clarify that. I don't mean that you can't help yourself groping someone. I mean, you just can't. You can't help.
There are physiological reactions that young boys especially struggle with. You see.
Yeah, it's tough stuff. But yeah, that was crazy. And after that experience, I kind of decided that after about 2 years in Japan, I said I'm going to live close, very close to work, and bike it in because eventually I got a car, but yeah, I get away with that shit. It's fucking nuts. I don't understand how people live like that, crammed into fucking trains.
Yeah, no, I'd pass pretty hard on that one.
Yeah, shame boner. That's exactly right.
It is a shame boner. You don't want to be doing this. You don't feel good about yourself if you pop a boner and poke a stranger. No one's happy in that situation. That's just some shit you got to live down. And
I don't know if you noticed, I'm not going to I'm very hard to embarrass and shame. But if you watch a bit of Japanese porn, which you can't help but see over in Japan if you're there, but you can see it online anyway, wherever you are, there's a lot of porn that happens on simulated trains and buses and shit. You would have seen it. That's exactly why, I think.
It's not a mistake. No, it certainly is not a mistake at all. They know what is in the back of the mind of people getting on these trains.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Geez, we wandered off the topic there, didn't we? So
yeah, don't we always?
So what do we think? I know we gotta get out of here soon. So getting back to the problem at hand, I mean, how does this play out? We watch this lawsuit build, and then eventually Google just pays the guy out silently, and he gets away with it. What happens? I noticed someone in the comments actually said that Stefan Molyneux just interviewed the guy on his channel, so that'll be interesting.
I think Peterson is doing it as well.
Shit.
But
that's good. Good.
On that subject, if you go on Twitter and look, there are other people that are basically saying, okay, it's great. You got rid of this guy. We're good. We wanted him gone. Now, you took that poll within the company. What about those other people that clearly seem to agree with him? They've got to go.
That was like what, a quarter to a third or something said that they strongly agree. Yeah.
And I think it was Joy Reid. I think that nutball fucking Democratic person over here. And she was literally saying, like, it's all well and good you got rid of him, but what about the people that don't agree? And then, of course, what I have to ask is the next step, what about the people that gently agree? Or what about the people that simply didn't care? They've all got to go, right? Because they're not ideologically consistent. What about the people that kind of disagreed, where they understood he had some points, which is actually one of the larger portions of that graph? The people that kind of disagreed, but weren't like, he has to burn. Just the people that were like, maybe he shouldn't have sent the memo.
But yeah, imagine just sort of around the water cooler or whatever you happen to mention, you know what, I didn't think it was that bad. He had some decent points. I mean, that could be enough to get you fucking ostracized in that company. I mean, the other joyous commentary you're hearing is all these people that are decrying this as some sort of sexist and racist tirade from an alt-right neo-Nazi, but ignoring the fact that these are the people that are screaming at everyone into their faces that they're like, oh, we're the people of science. We believe in science. Yeah.
And then they'll use things from, oh, I don't know, the social sciences
Mm-hmm.
as though it were law. And then they're ignoring things that have been observed via biological studies.
Yeah.
And they're like, that has to be ignored. That's not okay. Our sociological studies are clearly much more accurate than your biological studies.
Mm.
And just ignoring it. And I mean, this man was a fucking PhD in biology.
Yeah.
He wasn't pulling this out of his ass. This is a guy who knew what he was talking about.
You saw that there's an online call it psychological magazine, if you like, called Quillette, and they put out an article of 4 psychologists came on, PhDs, various disciplines, but all had sort of good knowledge of sex differences and that kind of thing. And they all largely said, yeah, look, the guy was pretty much spot on with everything. It was all factually correct. And some of them went as far as to say, the only thing that wasn't remotely correct was the fucking responses of all these hysterical people just calling him a bigot. And I mean, the guy was measured. He went to pains. He put that graph in there about overlapping differences and that people are individuals and you can't lump them into groups. And he went out of his way to make that point.
Yeah, when the new face of bigotry is saying people should be treated as individuals, we have a serious problem on our hands.
Just how do we, I mean, I know we always come back to this point, but how do you go from the left of 50 years ago or 55 years ago agreeing with Martin Luther King? Exactly. Like, of course, you look through color, you look through race, you look through gender, you look through sexuality. It's a minor genetic variation that we don't need to care about. We worry about your character. We worry about your contribution to society, what you have to offer, what your individual merits are as an individual. To disregarding that, flipping it 180 to making your skin color, whether you have a dick or not, whether you fuck someone in the ass or not, is the most important thing. And that's how we will judge you. How did they get there? Did they just fucking forget? I don't know.
It's honestly, I look at it from a very specific perspective. Behaviorally speaking, things occur because they work. People do a thing because it works. If it didn't work, people tend to stop. On some level, they're getting a payout. In this case, it's pretty clear. These are open power struggles at this point. And somehow, what shocks me more is at some point it seemed like as a society we were awakening to the fact that there was at least at some point there were people that were doing it for that reason, like either for power or to get out of situations they were caught in, or we knew that was a possibility to the point where comedians used it as bits. There are movies where people, the famous "what, it's 'cause I'm black," when clearly it isn't. I mean, we did this already. But somehow all of that's forgotten. All of it is forgotten in favor of this new push. And the reason this new push occurred is because it's working. If Black Lives Matter had formed and within a year gotten no press coverage, no one gave a shit, they were laughed off of the stage, they were ignored, people countered them in any sort of functional way, it would have been a different scenario. But it worked. Forming this block worked. It gave these people, shockingly, a fucking job. These people are now professional paid activists.
Yeah, that's what's stunning to me. Is that people always say off the cuff comments like, "Oh yeah, you're going to get a degree in bullshit studies," but there are actually jobs out there for bullshit studies, gender studies and stuff. You go into HR, you go into diversity and inclusion. That's where you go. And these people are the most. I said this on a video recently. Corporate Australia, America, the Western world could save hundreds of millions of dollars overnight if they fired everybody in diversity and inclusion. These people add nothing. They are a zero. They are a sunk cost.
Yeah, there's no production value there. There's no help that they actually give to the company. They're a completely useless group.
What I would like to see is a major company stand up and say, we have no diversity department. We have no inclusion department. We welcome all people, but we pick the best person for the job. And the best person for the job is not only someone who has technical skills, but communication skills, all the skills that make you the best worker. It's not just
So Google in the 90s and 2000s.
Exactly. Back to normalcy. But wouldn't it be wonderful? I mean, that's the kind of break you need, where a company just comes out and goes, look, this diversity shit, it doesn't work. All these, not that it doesn't work, but all these studies that purport to show that companies do better, it's such a load of bullshit. It's correlation without causation. Look, here's a company that's got more women and its stock price does better. But which came first, the stock price or the women coming?
Yeah.
Usually what you find is that these large successful companies are already successful, and then because they're successful, they can afford to, let's throw a few $100 million at a diversity thing, virtue signal, and voila. Yes, having more women on your company doesn't make it worse, and we're still a good company and we do better than the competition. So it looks like it's the women doing it. No, the women just joined a successful company and they didn't fuck it up.
I view it as akin to the same thing that's happening on a larger social scale internationally, where Western countries feel that they can and must, due to some moral obligations, save all the other countries in the world.
Yeah.
It's similar to that. Microsoft, Google, Amazon, all these companies are already successful. They don't need to change their tone. But what they're going to do is they're going to bring people in, and it's for the public opinion. It's the same reason why people used to give huge donations to charity. It's the same reason why people used to build things for the cities in ancient Rome. It's so that people go, oh, okay, well, he's a good guy.
Gets a plaque on the wall.
Yeah, at least he's doing a good thing. I mean, he's not, okay, he's a millionaire and maybe he got his money in some unscrupulous ways, but he did build that school for the needy kids. So, I mean, he does something. And that's basically what this is on a very small microcosmal scale. It's simply these companies doing that within the societies they operate within. It's these companies going, you see, we hired the women and the minorities and we're the good guys, see? And they're not making anything more from it. They may even lose a little bit of money per hire for it, but it doesn't hurt them overall any more than a big donation to a charity does. Yeah,
I just wish people could just think for a moment. Did Jobs and Wozniak embrace diversity? Is that how they made Apple? Was Bill Gates sneaking into a university at night to work on a computer illegally? Did that have something to do with diversity?
If you're not woke enough to acknowledge the fact that Bill Gates unearthed ancient Egyptian Kemet stones in the center of this country that were buried around the ancient Egyptian towns formed on the Mississippi, and learned his computer coding from these ancient black Egyptians, I mean, we don't even have a basis to talk on this. I mean, it's very clear to me that this is what happened.
That's too fucking woke for me, man.
I'm telling you, I can link you some videos where people say some shit like that. It's a lovely time we live in.
Oh yeah, when we were kangs and shit. Yeah, I saw Mr. Medica. Mr. Medica? He did a brilliant take on on some of those guys. Fantastic stuff. You know Mr. Medica on YouTube?
Oh yeah, certainly. He's one of the few I follow pretty closely.
Yeah, he's funny. Well, maybe we'll leave it there because I think you just outwoken me.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. If you want to learn about how the U.S. government is keeping away the mothership so it never comes down and rescues the enslaved black Africans of this world, I mean, I can always fill you in on that. I've got that knowledge. I've got that knowledge, all right, passed down to me by the ancestors. So,
shit. Can you send me that? Send me a link to that.
I will.
I put up a video on Monday about this cafe in Australia that's charging.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, you saw that. So I said in that video, if you believe in the pay gap as it's often put forth by feminists, then you are the equivalent of a flat earther. I got no less than a dozen to about 15 people come in and go, "Fuck you, man! How dare you equate the pay gap with flat Earth? I bet you haven't even looked at the science, man." And I go to these. I've clicked on a couple of their channels, and you go there, and it's like the Holocaust was a hoax, the moon landings was a hoax. There was a guy last year in Australia that drove his car into a crowd of people and killed several. That was a hoax. And these people actually they say things like, "Man, I thought you were a skeptic. You're skeptical, and you won't even."
Oh man,
dude, I've seen. I looked into this moon landing shit 20 fucking years ago. It's all horse shit. Go away.
Right?
How does a GPS system work if the Earth is fucking flat? Explain
Well,
that.
you see, it's simple. The satellites are all fake, and what they've done is they've set up a set of relay points, like radio
Man.
towers instead. All satellites are fake. That's the first thing you have to realize. There's never been anything in space, so they just shoot shit into the air and pretend it stays up there.
Oh fuck. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like people came in and they said, "Well, if the Earth is just a disc, then why aren't there any photos of people who got to the edge?" Or like, what the fuck? I mean, basic physics, people.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
like
all-
I've joked with the flat earthers, like, look, I covered this in first year philosophy when we were discussing the ancient Greek mathematicians, and he figured this out with a pole. Okay, just a stick and moving up and down the earth. He figured this out. So if this is too hard for you, I understand. But
Yeah, I mean, and so what are all the other planets? They're just an illusion. Jesus, I
yeah,
don't know if I want to go down this rabbit hole. It's just fucking.
the best one is the David Icke theory. David Icke is my personal favorite because what he does is what I would do in my spare time. Only he believes it. He collects. Yeah, he collects conspiracy theories. He has all of them. If you dig deep enough, Icke has done it. Icke is the Simpsons of conspiracy theories. Yeah, Simpsons did it. Simpsons did it. Don't worry, Simpsons did it. The Earth is covered in holograms, being projected down to us directly into our brains from a hollow moon.
Fuck.
Discuss. I mean, and this is, like I said, this is what I do for fun. I collect conspiracy theories because I think it started with religion. And then once I got bored dealing with people in religion, I just tried to find all the other shit people believe that makes as much sense to me as religion. And David Icke wins.
Yeah. You got to have a certain intestinal fortitude for that stuff, because I actually start to feel depressed and just I start to think, how have we even come as far as we have when we're carrying this burden of some percentage of the population that are just fucking abject morons. I mean,
because as a species, we used to mostly use them to work in fields and provide food for functional members of society.
Yeah.
That's mostly what happened.
They made tractors and they moved into the cities and they got the free internet over.
Yeah, we fucked up by removing manual labor from the fields. I think that was our first mistake.
Yeah, I think it was a statistic. I can't remember if it was 3 million or 300,000. At the end of World War II in the United States, there were 3 million mules. Mules hoeing fields, and then you have this great migration into the cities, and people are doing more productive work. And now they've got the internet, and it's over. It's the end of civilization.
Yep, it'll be the fractioning. It'll be fun to watch.
Well, I'll hope you'll join me to watch some more of it in future, man. And thanks for coming today.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Okay, catch you later.
Bye, everyone.
See you guys.